So this is the material which is shared to you for columns and struts. We'll discuss about what is column, what is strut, and what are the types are there. Then the two theories. Then how we can solve problem. This is a session plan for unit 5. Like I said, this we can divide it into three part. One is column and struts. Then you have thin cylinder. Then you have a thick cylinder. Okay. So thin cylinder, thick cylinder, we will be discussing the next week. And today we're going to discuss about columns and struts. Okay. So before getting into the topic, let us discuss what is column and what is strut. And say for example, we have a beam. Sorry, you have a column and supported with respect to say this is a column. Okay. This is a vertical column. Okay. So if you have a member which is connected vertically, then it is considered as a column. And you have a member which is connected with either horizontal or inclined, then it is considered as a strut. And typically these struts will comes under short column. We'll discuss about the types of column also. That is what is short column, what is medium and column. And here are so example given for struts are you have connecting rod, piston, and trusses. Okay. So other difference between this column and strut in a case of like I said, struts are generally it will be of short column. Okay. And so this will have typically it will have a compressive load, and it also fails due to compressive load only. Whereas column will fail due to it will also have a compressive load only, but it will fail due to buckling. That is due to compression, we will be having a bending. See, like this, will be having a bending. So it fails due to bending. Okay, compressive stress and bending. That is called as buckling. Okay. And before getting into the concept, let us discuss about two things. One is the radius of gyration, and another one is the slenderness ratio. Okay. We all know what is radius of gyration. That is the distance from the given axis for a small element, where moment of inertia about the entire lamina will be not change. Okay, and several cases for beam also we have discussed this about moment about the radius of gyration. We have used several notations for that, and the slide it is given. Okay, let us follow that. For radius of gyration as k, the formula is root of I by a, where I is the moment of inertia and a is the area of cross section which you are going to take. So I is equal to ak square. Okay, this formula we know. I is equal to ak square. So k is equal to root of I by a. Then another one is slenderness ratio. So this is a very important term. We'll be using it in the column. Okay. And in slenderness ratio, this ratio of effective length by the minimum radius of gyration, that is k. Okay. So we should know what is effective length. Say for a column of this length, depending upon what is the constraint I am going to have at the end. Okay. So my effective length will vary. So constraint means what? If I have a fixed member, say if I have a fixed constraint on both the sides, so what will happen? It will allow to. So what is constraint here? The rotation is also constraint. The linear movement is also constraint. Say for example, I'm going to have a hinge. So I'm going to have a hinge support here in one end, another end is fixed. In this case, okay. So I'm here both the linear as well as the rotation is arrested. Whereas here it is still free to rotate. So whereas the linear movement is arrested. Okay. So depending upon the type of constraint I'm going to have, either I can have one end is free or both end is hinged, both end is fixed. Okay. So depending upon that, my effective length will vary. Whereas the length of the column is, this is the total length of the column, L. Okay. The effective length is, so when like I said, for the column, it will fail due to buckling. So either the that is buckling length, say for example, but this is the when you apply a axial load, this is axial load apply, and due to this there will be a compression, and like I said, short column will fail only due to compression or crushing. So it will be a crushing failure. When you have a long column, and the even for any short apply load, the uh, column will starts to bend like this. Okay, when it starts to bend, and the buckling will happen, that is bending stress also will be there along with the compression. Okay, so it will mainly fail due to this bending, not due to this pure compression. Okay, whereas short column will fail due to pure compression. Okay, so when we want to include the effect of the buckling, then we'll take that effective length of the column. Okay, that will vary depending upon the end constraint. That's what I'm trying to say here. Like I said, we have three types in general: long column, medium column, and short column. And medium and long column are combined in general here. And short column, it will fail due to mainly due to a crushing load, due to compression load alone. So just remember this: when you apply axial load, if it is short column, it fail due to the pure compression. If it is a long column, when you apply axial load, the long column starts to bend, so bending stress also will be there. So that is called as a buckling. Okay. So long column, um, how we can say it is a long column. This is the we discuss of slenderness ratio. If slenderness ratio is greater than 50, then it is considered as a long column. If it is less than 50, then it is considered as a short column. Whereas for mild steel, the value is different. It is greater than 80 for long column and less than 80 for the short column. Okay, and crushing load, I said clearly that is this is mainly for the short column. Okay, so short column fail by pure compression, so crushing. Okay, then crippling load or buckling load. So this is what meant for the long column. Okay, the crippling load will be there or a buckling load will be there. What is buckling? Buckling is nothing but say when you apply axial loading, the column will start to bend. It is given clearly. So buckling or bending. Okay, so the load at which the long column starts to bend, then it is called as a buckling load or crippling load. Okay, and so what are the factors depends for this? That is the amount of load which you are going to apply. What is the total length of the column? And like I said, the end condition is also important because that gives us the LG value. Okay, and cross section of the column is also very important because this will give us the I value, amount of inertia, that depends upon the cross section. Okay, then what is the material? This will give us a E value. Clear? So cross section will give us I value, and this is for E. Okay, this end condition will give us the effective length. Okay, so this is what generally the factors for this cripping load. Okay, now let us discuss about the failure of a column. And so like we discussed earlier, short column will fail under uh, pure compressive load. Okay, and it fails it is by a crushing when the yield stress of the material and compression is reached. So what is the formula? In general, sigma is equal to P by A. So this we know. Okay, this is the general formula which is applicable for short column also. So what is the load in that case? P is equal to sigma A. So this is the general case for the short column. Okay, so long column fails by buckling. Okay, and fails by buckling sometime before the yield stress in compression is reached. So buckling it fails only with respect to buckling. Okay. So now let us buckling load based on bending stress. Is we know that is for the Euler column. There are two theorem is there. One is Euler's column theorem, then Rankine's theorem. There are some shortcomings in the Euler theory, and Rankine theory is used to overcome that shortcomings. We'll discuss that also. And we need to Euler column is column theory is mainly used for long columns, not for short columns. Okay, so that is a main disadvantage in the Euler column theory. So in a long column, we'll have a buckling load. If it is short column, then we'll have a crushing load. Okay, that we should remember. Short column, we'll have a crushing load. Long column, we'll have a buckling load. Okay, so we need to find out what is this value of this buckling load. We are going to use the direct stress value, sigma is equal to P by A, and that is what, like I said, sigma is equal to P by A is for short column. Okay, and when you say for long column, so this is due to the compression, right? So due to compression only bending is there. So this will also will be there for long column, but the value is less. So this is neglected for the long column. Okay, so that is why I said this here we cannot use it for the short column, because this eliminates this sigma is equal to P by A. The earlier side I told you about sigma, that is for short column, the formula which we are going to use, sigma is equal to P by A only. And what are the assumptions we are going to use for Euler's theory is, we are going to consider the column is perfectly straight. Okay, and we are going to have only a axial load, not a lateral load. Okay, and cross section of the beam remains same throughout the length. That is one, because area we are going to use, and moment of inertia we are going to use, and column material is perfectly elastic and homogeneous and isotropic. That means it will not change throughout this length, and length of the column will be higher than the cross section. Then only we'll say it is a long column. Okay, and direct stress is neglected, and the failure is only due to buckling. These are all the assumptions in the Euler theory. And sign convention is when you apply a compressive load, how the column is going to deform. So based on that, so we'll have um, so convexity or concavity. So positive for convexity and negative for concavity. So now when you have end conditions, so these are the end conditions of column and its effective length. And say this is a hinged, okay, this is hinged, and this is a fixed one, and this is fixed at third one is fixed at both the ends, and fourth one is fixed at one end and the pinned at the one end. Okay, so this is the case where the axial load. Okay, lateral load means it will be applied perpendicular to the length of the, that is, this is the direction. If you apply, that is a lateral loading. So here the assumption is we'll consider only the axial loading case. Okay, when you have hinged at both the ends, then the effective length will be exactly equal to the length of the column. Okay, that we should remember. And this is the four conditions is generally there. So we will be substituting L value as either as LE value as either as L, or it will be 2L, or L by 2 or L by root 2. So this is what the four case. Clear? So if both are pin, then L is equal to LE. If fixed at one end and free at other end, then the LE is 2L. We will discuss about that why in the latest. Okay, and if it is fixed at both ends, and then this is the effective length. This distance is the effective length, and fixed at one end and the pinned at other end, then it will be effective length is L by root 2. That is 0.7 L. Okay, so this is the four values which we need to remember. Let us see the case. First one is the column with both end hinged. So when you have a column with both the end hinged, so we'll have a effective length will be equal to L. Okay, and say for example, let us take the second this part of the diagram. This is the case where the axial load is there. That is what mentioned here. And you just when the load is applied, this is how the column will bend. Okay, you take an arbitrary a point here that is taken as Q from a distance x from the point A. So Q is taken, and this y is the deflection. Clear? So y is there and x we have, and this is a total length. Okay, and if I take a point Q, when I am going to apply a load here, so now so what is it be here? So you'll be having a P here and a moment. I hope you will be knowing how to convert load into this, right? Okay, point load and a couple system, force and a couple system, which we have studied that in the engineering mechanics. Okay, so now in this case, what is the moment at about this particular point? This moment about this particular point will be p into y, and depending upon the sign convention which we have seen, for this case the sign convention is negative. That is a moment is taken as minus py. Okay, and in the fourth unit we have discussed moment is equal to ei into d square y by dx square. So we are going to use these two equations. That is ei is equal to d square y by dx square is equal to m, that will give, that is equal to minus pi. When you take it to the other side, you get d square y by dx square plus p by ei into y equal to 0. And to simplify, this p by ei is taken as p square, small p square. Okay, capital P is the load, and small p square is equal to p by ei. And so this is comes with respect to partial differential equation, and that will have a solution of y is equal to a sin px plus b cos px. And what are the boundary conditions we have? So when x is equal to 0 here, when x is equal to L, the y value will become 0. That is, the y value is 0 at a and b. So we'll just substitute x is equal to 0 and y is equal to 0 in this particular equation. Then we'll be getting b is equal to 0. Then you substitute that, we'll have a equation y is equal to a sin px. Clear? What is second boundary condition? We have second boundary condition at point B. X is, when x is equal to L, the deflection is again equal to 0. When you substitute that here, and a value cannot be 0, so we'll have sin px will become 0. Instead of x, you should substitute as L, because x is equal to L. So sin PL will become 0, or PL equal to this all 0, pi, 2 pi, and it goes until n pi. Okay, then you take PL is equal to pi, and what is p which you are taken, that is p square is equal to p by ei. So p is square root of p by ei. So p by ei L into pi. This is the formula we'll get. Okay. So now crippling load or buckling load is from this formula. P is equal to pi square ei by L square. So you need to remember this formula. P is equal to pi square ei by L square. Okay. Don't just make a note of this. So this formula, that is crippling formula, we need to remember. E is equal to pi square ei by L square. What is buckling stress? It will be sigma is equal to p by a. We know the value of p here. So pi square ei by al square. So that is the form. That is the crippling stress. Clear? So for crushing, what is the formula? Sigma is equal to p by a. Clear? For crushing. For buckling, then p is pi square ei by L square. Here the L is nothing but the effective length. So for depending upon the condition given in the problem, say both the end fixed, both the end hinged, one end fixed, one end is free. So we will use the L value as the effective length. That will vary for the four conditions. Okay, and we can also rewrite this equation with respect to the slenderness ratio, and that is also given here. So for easy to remember, P is equal to pi square ei by L square. That is the crippling load. Now this is with respect to column with one end fixed and the other end is free. When you have a column with, say for example, I want one more thing here. So this is the case for both the end is hinged, and both the end is hinged. The effective length is equal to L. That is why it is mentioned as L square. Le is equal to L for both the end when both the end is hinged. When you have a column with one end is fixed and one end is free, then the effective length is 2L. One end is fixed and one end is P, then the effective length is 2L. That is because when you compare the hinged with this one, so say for example, when you have a hinged one, so this is how the buckling will be there when both ends is hinged. So this one half, okay, that is represented in this case. So that is why it is given as, so the total is the effective length is 2 times the L. Okay. So what we need, we have already, we have formula that P is equal to pi square EI by L square. Pi square EI by L square is the formula. In L, we need to substitute the effective length. Clear? So effective length pi square E by LE by K the whole square, because we have the case with respect to the L by K is a slenderness ratio, so that we can use. Clear? So then you use the effective length of L for this particular column. Okay. Then another case is column with both the end is fixed. And when you have a column with both the end is fixed, the effective length is the half of the length of the column. Okay. And we just take here, you have a center point C, and the shear at this point C, the horizontal component of the reaction at A and B will be 0. Okay, at this particular. So what you're going to have here is, when you take a portion AC, and this portion AC will be symmetric about this point D. Similarly, this will be symmetric about this point E. Okay. So now, so the point D, where we have the bending moment, will be 0. Similarly, at the point E. So that is why the length is considered as from this point D to E. So D to E will generally, it will be half of the total length of the column. Okay. So how to, what are things we have discussed? Hinged at both end, L is equal to LE, and fixed at one end, free at other side. Then LE is equal to 2L, and both the end is fixed. Then we have LE is equal to half of the L. When we have another case, one end is fixed and the other end is hinged. Okay. So when you have one end is fixed and other end is hinged, then the effective length is given as L is L by root 2, or you can remember it as LE is equal to 0.7 L. So these are the 4 cases of the conditions are there, of end conditions are there, and using these 4 conditions only, we are going to solve problem. So what are things we need to remember? There are 4 end conditions. For these 4 end conditions, we have different LE value. Okay, LE formula is there. Then we have a formula for finding out buckling load or a crippling load. Okay, so and we do also have a formula for crushing load. Crushing load is simple, sigma, that is sigma is equal to P by A. So P is equal to sigma A. That is the crippling load formula. Okay, sorry, crushing load formula. What are the limitations we have? Like we have discussed earlier, the limitation here is the assumption itself. We are going to take it as for only for the, we are eliminating the sigma C, that is the crushing load, which is P is sigma C equal to P by A, that we are going to, we are not considering that. So crippling stress formula is, here we have LE by K. So it is inversely proportional to the slenderness ratio. So the limiting value of crippling stress is the crushing stress. For one example is given. For mild steel, we have discussed L by K ratio should be greater than 80. And for this example, if you solve, we'll getting L slenderness ratio as 80. Okay, it is a limiting case. So if greater than 80, sorry, if it is less than 80, then we cannot use this Euler rule. So we need to have L by K ratio greater than 80, then only we can use this Euler rule. This is for stainless steel. Similarly, for other, we'll have 50, L by K ratio 50. And if it is less than 50, we cannot use this rule, because this will not include the crushing stress. Clear? Whereas if L by K ratio is less than 50, it's a short column, that may actually fails by crushing stress only, not crippling stress. So when you're going to solve a problem in this case, couple of things we need to remember, which I'm going to tell you now. One is about what is the cross section is going to be there. For circular cross section and square cross section, we will not face this issue. Say for example, we have a rectangular cross section. In you have a rectangular cross section. Okay, what are the formula we have? What is the formula for I? It can be BD by 4, 12, sorry. or it can be b cube d also. We can have bd cube, or it can be b cube d also. Whether you're going to take ixx or you're going to take iyy. So what we need to do here is we need to calculate both the value. So whatever the value which is coming less, that we need to take it for I value. That is, put just write it, or you make a note of that. Say for circular cross section, both the formula is same. Ixx and Iyy is same. So and for square cross section also it is same. For rectangular cross section, for I cross section, for T cross section, we'll have a different formula for Ixx and Iyy. So we need to use both the formula and to find out moment of inertia value. And whatever, suppose if Ixx is small, then I need to take that value for doing the calculation. Okay. So what is the formula which we discussed for crippling load? P is equal to pi square EI by LE square. That is in general pi square EI by LE square. And here they are given, determine the critical load of steel tube 5 meter long. L is given 5 meter, diameter is given 100 mm outer diameter, 16 mm wall thickness is given. So I is for this 5 by 64 into d power 4 minus small d to the power 4. Okay. And so when you use the wizard, you can be able to find out the value of I. And the P will, that is in P, LE value will vary depending upon the conditions. So here, when you have both the end is hinged, then LE is equal to L. Both the end is fixed, then it is L by 2. One end is fixed and another is hinged, then it is L by root 2. One end is fixed and other end is fixed, then it is L is equal to 2L. Okay. They calculated all the crippling load values for the given condition. Okay. So this is one simple example. And another example is a slender steel column. Again, it's circular cross section. So you know the formula 5 by 64 into d to the power 4. And diameter of the column is if the diameter column is doubled, keeping outer material and the geometry parameters the same, then what will be the new critical buckling load of the column they are asking. So we need to find out critical buckling load. So formula is pi square EI by LE square. And so new in the sense we'll have critical PCR and PSCR. And I think I have not told you about this critical buckling load. Say for a case, for example, when you have buckling, okay, and there may be a case where this can come back to the original shape. Okay. And when you apply a load at which this when it starts to bend and is not coming back to the original shape, that particular load is called as a critical load. Okay. And so that is what the critical buckling load. Say for a smaller load, it will bend. Then when you release the load, it will come back to the shape, initial position. Okay. But critical buckling load is reached, then it will not come back to the original. That is, it will not come back to the vertical position. Okay. And they are taken D as the initial diameter. And so condition is given as D is, and for new it is 2D and one is D. So ratio, just substitute I value 5 by 64, and D power 4 is 1, 5 by 64 into 2D to the power 4. So we have 16. So 2 to the power 4, that is the 16 will be there. That is a ratio of new crippling load, or the ratio between the new crippling load is when the diameter is doubled. Okay. So this is with respect to Euler's theory. Okay. And a couple of people have raised